Hey everyone, I'm Ascending Faith. Welcome back to the channel where stories meet the soul, where ambition, love, and redemption collide in powerful ways. Today I'm sharing a story that cuts deep, a story about family, pride, loss, and the long road to grace. It's called The Road Back, the Vargas Legacy, from empire to ashes, from arrogance to compassion. This journey reminds us that even broken legacies can be rebuilt, not in gold, but in grace. So, before we begin, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe because this one isn't just a story, it's a mirror. Now let's begin.
The night of Donato Vargas's 60th birthday shimmered with chandeliers and performance. The ballroom of the Vargas estate was done up like a magazine spread, crystal, dripping from the ceiling. White roses banked in tall glass vases, tuxedos and jewels moving through warm light and expensive music. Waiters floated between clusters of guests, their trays heavy with champagne, canapes, and the kind of easy laughter that existed only where money was old enough to be arrogant. At the head of the grand table sat Donato himself, a broad-shouldered man in a black suit that fit like armor. His dark hair had surrendered to gray at the temples, but nothing in his posture suggested softness. He smiled, but it was the kind of smile that came from knowing everyone in the room depended on him. To his right sat Cecilia in emerald silk, her hands folded precisely on her lap. She watched everything, spoke carefully, and gave the kind of small, encouraging smiles that stopped arguments before they started. There was a weariness behind her eyes she hid even from herself. Next to her, Marco, 34, in a tailored navy suit, wristwatch worth a family car. His tie knot perfect, his grin practiced. People leaned toward him when he spoke. He had that easy charm, that offhand cruelty that passed for confidence in certain circles. This was his element. Leah hovered near the corner of the table, a little removed. 28, dark hair pulled back with minimal effort. Navy dress, no heavy jewelry, a thin gold chain. She held a glass of orange juice. She could feel the invisible lines drawn in the room. Who mattered? Who circled those who mattered? Who refilled all their glasses? She had grown up inside those lines. Her uncle Raphael waddled over, already flushed from too much wine. "Leah," he boomed, patting her arm. "You're still working with trucks, yes? What is it? Co-op?" He made the last word sound like disease. "North Star Transit," Leah said. "We just added 2 hybrid rigs, actually. It's going well." "Oh," Raphael said. "Hybrids, eco, very cute." He was already looking past her before she'd finished speaking. Someone tapped a fork to a glass. The chatter ebbed. Donato stood slowly, and the room fell into full attention like they'd rehearsed it. "Friends," Donato began, "family. 60 years. You've all heard my story enough times, I won't bore you with it. Immigrant boy, mechanic's son. Built Vargas Freight from one truck and a bad loan into what it is today. But tonight I want to speak of the future." Eyes slipped to Marco on instinct. Donato's gaze swept the room. He relished this. "I am not naive. I know I won't be here forever. A true leader doesn't cling. He chooses. And I have made my choice." He let the silence stretch. Marco's lips curved. "My son," Donato said, "Marco Vargas, will take over as CEO of Vargas Freight and Logistics. He has the fire, the drive, the vision to take this empire even further." Applause exploded. People stood. Some whistled. Marco rose with an effortless grin and dipped his head, offering a mock modest gesture that fooled no one. Leah clapped too because anything else would have been noticed. Marco leaned toward his father's mic with a half smile. "I'll keep the trucks moving, Papa," he said, voice smooth. "Faster, farther, and more profitable than ever." Cheers. When the noise began to settle, Leah felt her heart pounding. Not from jealousy, she'd made peace a long time ago with not being the favorite, but from fear. Because she knew the numbers. She knew where the shortcuts had already begun. "Father," she said before she could talk herself out of it. "May I say something?" The mic hovered. Donato's eyes settled on her with faint irritation, like a program had been interrupted by an unexpected advertisement. "Briefly, Leah," he said. She rose, feeling the weight of eyes. "I've been working on a proposal," she said, voice calm, steady. Hybrid fleets, better maintenance schedules, digital routing to cut fuel waste. We can expand, but safer, cleaner. Long-term sustainability means... Marco's laugh cut through her words. Ethically? He repeated, amused. Leah, this is logistics, not a charity gala. We move cargo, not conscience. A few people chuckled. Some didn't, but no one said anything. Leah's cheeks warmed, but she kept her spine straight. Donato's dismissal came like a gavel. Your heart is in the right place, child, he said, not unkindly, but publicly. But softness doesn't build empires. Leave the numbers where they belong. That was it. Applause started again for Marco. The band picked up. Donato sat satisfied. Leah lowered herself back into her chair. Cecilia leaned toward her. I liked your idea, her mother whispered. You didn't say that before, Leah replied, but without venom. Cecilia's fingers curled, slightly over her daughter's. I'm saying it now, she murmured. Don't let them make you small. Leah let the words sink in. Then, after a while, she slipped out to the terrace, where the night air was cool and didn't smell like flattery. She looked back at the ballroom, her father like a king, Marco like a prince, the family orbiting them. If softness doesn't build empires, she whispered to herself, then I'll build something else. She didn't know it yet, but that promise would outlive every chandelier in that room. They had not always been this way. When they were children, Marco had been the one who taught her how to ride a bike, steadying the seat until she trusted herself. Leah had been the one to sit with him under the kitchen table when their father came, home furious about a broken contract, telling him made-up stories about trucks that flew instead of crashed. But childhood loyalties buckled under the weight of Donato's love. Conditional, focused, earned through performance. Marco learned early that making Donato proud felt like oxygen. Leah learned that questioning him felt like stepping off a ledge. Marco played varsity sports, brought home trophies, went to business school. You got scholarships, degrees in supply chain engineering, environmental economics. He got cigars and backslaps. She got distracted nods. And Marco, smart enough to feel his father's expectations, but not deep enough to examine them, leaned into the role. The chosen, the heir, the one who sat in on meetings at 21, the one who signed his first contract at 23, the one people said looked like a younger Donato. So when the crown finally dropped onto his head at 60, Donato Vargas simply said out loud what had been silently true for years. In the first year as CEO, Marco was electric. He strutted through headquarters, a gleaming glass building overlooking the freeway, with a kind of restless energy. We're done with steady, he said in an early executive meeting. We're scaling, aggressively. Cut idle fleet time by 15%, reduce maintenance lag, restructure pay scales. We've been soft. A few of the older executives exchanged glances. One of them, Arturo, graying at the temples, cleared his throat. Marco's safety gaps are already flagged, Arturo said. If we cut maintenance further, Marco smiled coldly. Arturo, you've been wonderful furniture for my father's era, but if you can't keep up with mine, I'll find someone who can. Laughter, tight and nervous, fluttered around the table. Arturo sank back, reading the room. Marco slashed costs, renegotiated insurance contracts, took on deals from clients other carriers rejected. Routes got longer, breaks shorter, inspections more flexible. Profits jumped. Donato beamed. That's my son, he said. That's my blood. Leah watched from the outside. She'd tried at first to consult for free, to quietly pass along her models. She'd emailed Marco suggestions, sent her father summaries. Most went unanswered. A few came back with a single line. Cute, Marco wrote once. You should put it on a blog. So she stopped offering. Instead, she put her energy into North Star Transit. North Star was nothing like the Vargas machine. She co-founded it with Malik, a former Vargas driver who'd left after being forced to drive 20-hour shifts. Their first office was above a laundromat. Their first trucks were old, but well-maintained. Their first hires were people no one else wanted. Older drivers, immigrants, single mothers. We do this different, Leah told them. We pay on time. We don't push beyond legal limits. We track everything. No shortcuts. Malik raised an eyebrow. You know that's going to cost. I know, Leah said. We'll grow slower, but we'll sleep at night. The drivers believed her, tentatively at first, then fiercely. She rose at 4 to meet night shift returns. She sat with drivers when their kids applied to college. She built her routing algorithms on a second-hand laptop. It was exhausting, unglamorous work, and she loved it. At family dinners, the contrast grew more obvious. Marco arrived in new cars. Leah arrived with dark circles and a cracked phone screen. Our Q2 was insane, Marco bragged one Sunday, carving into a steak. New clients in 3 states. We're eating up the market. Your drivers are complaining, Leah said. I saw 3 different anonymous posts about brake failures. Anonymous cowards, Marco said. You give people too much and they demand a crown. Anyway, how's your band of misfits and toy trucks? Cecilia shot him a look. Marco. What? He shrugged. We're celebrating success. The accident happened at dawn. 2 Vargas freight trucks, both overdue on maintenance. Both pushed on tight deadlines. Both carrying loads on worn brake systems. One lost control on a downhill ramp. The other swerved. Metal tore into metal. One truck jackknifed across 3 lanes. A compact car spun, crushed. Flames licked the sky. 2 drivers dead at the scene. A mother from the compact car in critical condition. Photos, videos, witnesses. By noon, the headlines screamed. 2 dead in Vargas crash, negligence suspected. Old safety complaints resurfaced. Former drivers went on record. Anonymous mechanics talked about orders from above to clear. Trucks that weren't safe. Marco stared at his TV in disbelief. This is a hit job, he snapped. Competitors. Bitter ex-employees. It's evidence, Cecilia said softly. Donato stepped into the media lights again. Older this time, voice strained. We are investigating, he said. Our thoughts are with the families. Beside him, Marco forced a controlled expression. Off camera, he hissed at legal. Settle fast, no admissions. We keep this quiet. But things had changed. Stories didn't go away anymore. They multiplied. One evening, Leah arrived at the Vargas estate with a folder brimming with documentation. Alternate. Safety protocols. Third-party audits she could arrange. Language for public accountability. Her father sat in his leather armchair, a half-finished whiskey on the table. Marco leaned against the mantel, arms folded. I can fix this, Leah said. Or at least stop it from getting worse. You need transparency, compensation, real reforms. You can't PR spin dead people. We'll handle it, Donato said. He didn't look at the folder. You wouldn't understand the scale. Marco smirked. You run a charity with trucks, relax, this is grown-up stuff. I understand exactly what scale means, Leah said. It means when you mess up, more people bleed. That's why you can't keep cutting corners. Marco rolled his eyes. Every company has accidents. It's math. Leah's gaze moved to her father. It's morality, she said quietly. His jaw tightened. That's enough, he said. She placed the folder on the table anyway. It's there if you want it. He never opened it. Later that night, when the house quieted, Cecilia slipped into the study. She opened the folder, read the first few pages. Leah's clean. Organized recommendations. Her insistence on responsibility. She closed it when she heard footsteps and placed it back. In the morning, it was gone. Donato said nothing. Marco said they didn't have time for idealistic experiments. The folder ended up shredded with other unnecessary documentation. The cracks widened. Drivers left. Insurance premiums went up. Regulators poked deeper. Banks started asking questions. A second minor incident made the news. Then a leaked email of Marco pressing a manager to clear the damn trucks and stop whining. Leah watched the reports with a heavy heart. She didn't celebrate. This was her father's name, too. The company had put food on their table, paid for her schools, given jobs to thousands. But choices had been made, and they were coming home. North Star, on the other hand, grew. It was slow but clean. Clients that cared about their own reputation liked Leah's model. A business magazine ran a feature. The Ethical Road, How North Star is Rethinking Freight. The article mentioned her last name only once. Any relation to Vargas Freight? The interviewer had asked. Leah had smiled. I learned a lot watching them, she'd said. What to do and what not to do. The day the article went live, Marco threw a copy across his office. She's using my name to climb, he snarled. No, Arturo said carefully. She's using her work. Marco fired him a week later. When the forged maintenance logs hit the press, it all detonated. A whistleblower leaked proof. Under Marco's leadership, reports had been altered to make it seem inspections were up to date. Safety flags deleted, schedules falsified. There were depositions, subpoenas, cameras at the gate, talk of criminal charges. Donato's hands shook as he flipped through the pages. "Tell me this isn't true," he rasped. Marco's bravado sputtered. "Everyone does it," he said. "We'd lose half our fleet if we took every little red flag seriously." "It's normal. People died," Donato said. His voice broke on the last word. The board convened without celebration this time. Old friends avoided Donato's eye. They moved to strip Marco of executive power pending investigation. It was mostly symbolic, and much too late. The Vargas name, once synonymous with reliability, became shorthand for greed. The mansion began to empty. Artwork quietly sold, then the vacation home. Staff laid off. Creditors closed in. Lawsuits piled. Cecilia stopped hosting dinners. She moved like a ghost from room to room, touching the backs of chairs that used to be full. One night she found Marco in the darkened dining room, staring at nothing. "They set me up," he muttered. "Journalists. That little coward who leaked, competitors, and her. Leah with her clean little halo." "You signed the directives?" Cecilia said softly. "I did what Dad taught me," Marco snapped. "Push, win." She looked at him for a long time. "Your father taught you to fight," she said. "He didn't teach you when to stop." He laughed bitterly. "So now it's my fault and his." She didn't argue. She just sat beside him until the rage burned into a tired, shaking silence. Leah heard about the board decision from the news. She didn't gloat. She stayed late at the North Star office that night, running payroll, checking maintenance logs, responding to a driver's text about his sick child. Malik watched her. "You okay?" he asked. "They're going to lose everything," she said. "Yeah," he said. "They did it to themselves," she added. "Yeah," he said again. "Still hurts, huh?" She nodded. "They're my family. Sometimes family is just people you didn't get to choose," he said. "You can love them without saving them." But the thing about Leah was, saving people was her default setting. The call came 2 weeks later. It wasn't Marco, it was Cecilia. "Leah," her mother's voice cracked through the line. "He wants to see you." "Your father, please." Leah hesitated. She could hear something in the silence behind the words, a fragility she'd never heard from Donato before. "Okay," Leah said. "Bring him to my office." The car that pulled up outside, North Star's modest building, was not the glossy black sedan of old. It was a less ostentatious model, still polished but lacking the old swagger. Donato stepped out slowly. His suit hung looser. His skin had a gray cast. Marco climbed out the other side, looking like he'd aged 10 years in 3 months. Unshaven, eyes dull. Defensiveness now more reflex than confidence. Leah met them in the lobby. Drivers glanced up, recognizing the disgraced patriarch from TV with a mix of curiosity and contempt. Inside her office, small, bright, functional. Donato sat carefully across from her. "You built this," he said, looking around at the whiteboards filled with roots. The photo of her and her team at a truck stop laughing. "With help," Leah said. His gaze dropped. "We need yours." Marco bristled. "Not like that," he muttered. "We're not begging." "We are," Donato said without looking at him. That shut him up. "The company's collapsing," Donato continued. "There are people, drivers, staff, who will lose everything. I don't have the strength. I don't have the trust. You do." Leah folded her hands in her lap. Her heart pounded, but not from triumph, from the weight of what this could mean. "I'm listening," she said. "I want you to acquire whatever you can," Donato said. "The routes, the trucks worth saving. Keep those people working. Keep something alive." Marco scoffed. "This is ridiculous. We don't hand over Vargas freight to—" "That company is gone," Donato snapped suddenly, louder than he'd meant to. "You burned it." Silence slammed down. Marco stared, stunned. Donato took a few shallow breaths. Leah cleared her throat. "I'll consider an acquisition," she said slowly. "But I won't save your reputation. I'll only save who I can." Marco rolled his eyes. "So dramatic." She turned the laptop toward them. Numbers, charts, proposals. She'd been thinking about a scaled acquisition since the first major. Scandal broke, not out of opportunism, but because she'd known this call might come. "Here's what I can do," she said. "North Star can absorb key routes, maybe 50 trucks after safety inspections. We can't take the debt. We can hire some of the drivers, dispatch, mechanics, but there are conditions." Donato nodded weakly. "Name them." "1," Leah said. "All outstanding wages and benefits owed to. Workers are prioritized. From what's left of your assets before creditors or executives get a cent." Marco made a disgusted sound. "2," Leah continued. "Safety reforms are non-negotiable. Full transparency. If I find a forged record, that person is out." "And 3?" Donato asked, even though he already knew. "Marco steps down from any formal role," Leah said. "No advisory titles, no shadow decisions. He signs a statement, accepting responsibility for the misconduct. Under his leadership." Marco surged to his feet. "Absolutely not. You don't get to erase me." Leah met his gaze. "I'm not erasing you. I'm stopping the damage. Your name on a letterhead means people don't eat." He laughed, brittle. "You'd love that, wouldn't you? The soft little sister, their savior." "No," she said quietly. "I'd love if you'd listened 3 years ago. I'd love if those men were still alive." That hit, his jaw clenched. He looked away. Donato's eyes brimmed. "She's right," he whispered to him. "Sign it." "How can you—" Marco began. "Because I did this to you," Donato said. Voice low, cracked. "I made you believe winning was the only language. I made her believe her voice didn't matter. Now look." Marco stared at his father, seeing him small for the first time. It terrified him. Leah slid a pen across the desk. "This doesn't fix everything," she said. "But it's a start." He picked it up with shaking fingers. The statement was short, factual. He accepted responsibility for systemic safety failures under his tenure. He acknowledged the need for restructuring. No legal admissions beyond what they'd already been cornered into. But enough. Enough symbolically. He signed. Leah exhaled. "I'll move quickly," she said. "For the workers." "You always do," Cecilia said softly from the doorway, having slipped in unseen. "For everyone but yourself." Leah gave her a tired smile. "I'm working on that." The transition was messy, painful, loud. North Star announced acquisition of selected Vargas assets. Some in the press called it ruthless. Others called it justice. Former Vargas drivers came in for interviews, some wary, some hostile. "You're his daughter," one said bitterly, gesturing at Donato's face on his phone. "I'm also the one offering you a contract with health insurance," Leah replied. "Take your time. Read it, no pressure." Another driver asked, "How do we know you're different?" "You don't," Leah said. "But I'm here at 5 a.m., same as you." "I'm not going anywhere." She held such conversations 100 times. And slowly, people believed her. Not because of her name, but because of her patterns. As the months passed, North Star trucks, blue and silver, became a familiar sight on highways where Vargas red had once dominated. The Vargas logo faded, peeled, was repainted. Some old rigs didn't pass inspection and were scrapped. Newer hybrid models joined the fleet. Pension funds, long neglected, saw partial restoration through settlements Leah insisted be protected. It wasn't perfect justice, but it was more than most men like Marco ever gave. Donato moved to a small coastal house on the edge of town, a far cry from the estate but with enough space for his memories and his shame. He needed a cane now. Some days his hands trembled too badly to hold his coffee. Cecilia sat with him on the deck in the mornings, blanket over her knees, watching the waves roll in. Leah visited on weekends. She brought groceries, contracts for him to look at if he felt up to it, though he rarely did. One evening, the sky streaked orange. He cleared his throat. "I saw a North Star truck today," he said. She smiled. "We're everywhere." "It made me proud," he admitted. "Then it made me angry. Then ashamed. Then proud again." His voice thinned. "I'm sorry, Leah." She stared at the sea with him. "For what?" she asked. "For teaching you that your kindness was weakness," he said. "For laughing when you were right. For loving one child with conditions and the other with condescension." The old hurt rose in her chest, but so did something else. Time. Distance. The sight of him now. Smaller, learning too late. "You were scared," she said. Of losing what you'd built? I was arrogant, he corrected. You were both, she said. But you're here now. That counts. He turned his head to look at her. You saved my people, he said. The ones my son ruined and I failed. I saved who I could, she said. Not for you. For them. That's why it counts, he whispered. He died 3 weeks later in his sleep, one hand resting toward the empty side of the bed, the other curled on the blanket like it was still reaching for a pen. The funeral was smaller than his birthday had been. Some didn't come because they'd been burned. Some came because even if a man fails, the story of how he once tried still tugs at people. A few old drivers stood at the back, caps in hand. Leah gave the eulogy. She did not sanitize him into a saint, but neither did she flay him. My father was not a perfect man, she said, but he was not a hollow one. He built something real, then he made choices that hurt people. In the end, he understood that. I choose to remember the man who fixed engines with his bare hands, not just the one who sat in the corner office. She left it there. After the burial, people drifted toward their cars. Cecilia clung to Leah's arm, her body light, like a bird that had forgotten how to stand alone. Marco stood off to the side, hands in his pockets, staring at the stone. He had been quiet throughout the ceremony. The tabloids had loved his downfall. Fallen Prince of Freight splashed. His mugshot, when the regulatory fines were announced, speculated about prison. In the end, he avoided jail through a combination of settlements, cooperation, and his lawyers. But he had been barred from serving as an officer or director in a publicly traded company for a long time. The exile stung more than any cell would have. Leah walked over eventually. You okay? She asked. He gave a short, bitter laugh. Stupid question. Probably, she said. He rubbed his jaw. You got what you wanted, he muttered. You win. Marco, she said quietly. I never wanted you destroyed. You took the company, he snapped. I picked up what you dropped, she replied. So other people didn't starve. He opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked at the grave. His voice was smaller when he spoke again. He loved me more, he said. You know that. I know he made you responsible for his ego, she said. That's not love. A long silence fell between them. I don't know how to be anything else, he admitted. It came out raw, like a confession he hadn't rehearsed. You start small, Leah said. Do something useful that doesn't have your name on it. Listen more than you talk. Take a job where nobody cares who your father was. He snorted. Cleaning your trucks, maybe. She shrugged. If you can follow instructions. He gave her a look, expecting mockery, but her face was open, almost amused. Look, she said. You're good in a room. You can negotiate. You understand operations when you're not trying to impress a mirror. Use that for someone else. Or volunteer with the driver union you nearly crippled. Show up somewhere consistently. Let people see you when there's nothing to gain. He stared at her. That's your redemption arc for me. It's your life, she said. Write your own. She began to walk away, then paused. There's a position at North Star, she added, not turning. Compliance liaison. Reports to someone who's not me. Low title. Lower pay than you're used to. Real work. Real accountability. He scoffed automatically. That's humiliating. Exactly, she said softly. Think about it. He watched her go, her arm linked with Cecilia's, their silhouettes small against the afternoon light. He felt something he hadn't felt in years. Not rage, not entitlement, possibility, edged with fear. 3 months later, Leah walked into North Star's modest conference room to find Malik grinning. Your brother's in the lobby, he said. She froze. You sure? Tall, broody, looks like he wants to punch the drywall, Malik said. Yeah. She took a breath, then stepped out. Marco stood by the reception desk holding a file. He wore a simple shirt, no tie, no designer cufflinks. He looked uncomfortable, like the air didn't fit right on his skin. I'm here about the job, he said before she could speak. It's not glamorous, Leah said. Good, he said. I'm not either lately. She studied him. You understand you'll answer to May, she's 26. She won't care about your last name. She'll yell at you if you screw up. I won't interfere. Fine, he said. You're going to sit in rooms with people you endangered, she said. You will help draft policies that admit fault. You'll listen more than talk. If this is about optics, don't bother. For once, Marco said quietly, this isn't about optics. There it was, the difference. Not a speech, not a performance. Just a sentence that sounded like it cost him something. She nodded toward the hallway. Talk to HR, she said. If they clear you, you start at the bottom. You don't get to skip shame. He almost smiled. You always did know how to sell a position, he said. As he walked away, Malik leaned in. You trust him? No, Leah said. I'm giving him a chance to trust himself. Soft, Malik teased. Strong, she corrected. Months later, a North Star truck rolled into the yard at sundown. A driver hopped out, tossing a wave to Marco, who was heading in with a stack of compliance forms. See you next week, man, the driver called. You too, Marco answered. It still felt strange, being thanked instead of feared. Strange, having to earn that. He passed Leah in the hallway. She was tired, hair messier than she'd like, but her eyes were clear. How's May? She asked. Still terrifying? She made me redo a report because I used vague language, he said. Said that's how people die. I hated it. Then I fixed it. Leah bit back a smile. Good. You were right, he said, almost grudgingly, then added, don't enjoy it too much. She shrugged. I enjoy that pensions are being paid. He looked at her, wanting to say more. Sorry, thank you. I didn't know how lost I was, but the words jammed in his throat. For now, it was enough to keep showing up. She turned to go, then glanced back. By the way, she said, I read somewhere softness doesn't build empires. Oh, he asked.
And that was the road back. A story of pride, pain, and the redemption that only humility can build. Leah found strength in compassion. Marco found grace in accountability. And through it all, we're reminded that power fades, but character endures. If this story spoke to you, if it made you think, forgive or hope, please like, share, comment, and subscribe for more faith-filled stories that speak to real hearts and real lives. I'm Ascending Faith, and I'll see you on the next journey.